Welcome back. I'm glad you're here today because what we're about to discuss is something that affects every single one of us. Not just Americans, but people around the world who depend on global trade, energy markets, and the fragile balance of international shipping. Today, we are talking about one of the most strategically critical waterways on the planet, the Strait of Hormuz. Let's start with the basics. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow passage of water located between the Arabian Peninsula and Iran. It connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. Now, why does that matter to you? Because roughly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this strait every single day. Think about that for a moment. 1 in 5 barrels of oil that powers cars, heats homes, and runs factories around the globe moves through this narrow corridor of water. When anything threatens the Strait of Hormuz, the entire world feels it. At the gas pump, in grocery store prices, in airline tickets, in the cost of virtually everything that gets shipped or manufactured. Now, let's talk about what's happening right now. President Donald Trump has issued a very serious and very direct order to the United States Navy. He has ordered naval forces to engage and destroy any small vessels found placing underwater mines in the waters of the Strait of Hormuz. This is not a warning. This is not a negotiating position. According to the statement released, the order was explicit. There is to be no hesitation. At the same time, the president confirmed that United States mine-sweeping operations are actively underway in the strait. These are specialized naval vessels and teams trained specifically to locate, identify, and safely neutralize underwater mines before they can damage or destroy commercial or military ships. The president ordered those operations to continue and to be significantly expanded. Now let's take a step back and understand why mines are such a serious threat. Underwater naval mines are one of the oldest and most dangerous weapons in maritime warfare. They are designed to detonate on contact or proximity with a vessel, and they are extraordinarily difficult to detect. A single mine can sink a large commercial tanker. In a waterway as busy as the Strait of Hormuz, even the threat of mines can cause massive disruption. Shipping companies may reroute their vessels thousands of miles out of the way to avoid the risk. That adds time, fuel costs, and ultimately raises the price of goods for consumers everywhere. The psychological and economic impact of mines in a critical waterway is enormous, even before a single ship is actually struck. This brings us to the broader strategic picture. The United States military has been engaged in operations in and around the Persian Gulf for decades. The U.S. Navy maintains a significant presence in the region through the 5th Fleet, based in Bahrain. That presence exists precisely because of the strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz and the surrounding waters. American officials, including President Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, have made statements indicating that Iran's conventional naval forces have suffered significant losses and degradation. Reports suggest that a large portion of Iran's larger naval assets have been rendered non-operational. However, military analysts and intelligence reporting, including assessments referenced by major news organizations, have noted that smaller, fast-moving vessels associated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, remain active and capable of operations, including the potential placement of mines. This is a critical distinction. You don't need a large warship to place a mine. Small, fast boats operating at night or in poor visibility can deploy mines with relative ease, which is exactly why this threat is taken so seriously by naval commanders. Let's talk about what mine-sweeping operations actually look like. Mine countermeasure vessels, often called MCMs, are specially designed ships equipped with sonar systems, remotely operated underwater vehicles, and specialized cutting equipment. Their job is painstaking, methodical, and genuinely dangerous. Teams of sailors and divers work carefully to map the ocean floor, identify suspicious objects, and either safely detonate mines in place or neutralize them through other means. Tripling the level of these operations, as ordered, means deploying significantly more vessels, more personnel, more aerial support, and more underwater drone assets to ensure the strait remains safe for commercial navigation. This is a massive logistical undertaking, and it signals just how seriously this threat is being taken at the highest levels of the United States government. Now let's zoom out even further and think about the global economic stakes. The world's energy markets are extraordinarily sensitive to disruptions in the Persian Gulf. When tensions rise in this region, oil prices can spike within hours, sometimes dramatically. Higher oil prices translate directly into higher costs for transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, and consumer goods. Nations that import significant amounts of energy, and that includes most of the world's economies, feel the impact almost immediately. Beyond oil, the Strait of Hormuz is also a critical corridor for liquefied natural gas, or LNG, particularly from Qatar, which is one of the world's largest LNG exporters. Disruptions to LNG flows affect electricity generation, heating, and industrial production across Europe, Asia, and beyond. In short, the stability of the Strait of Hormuz is not a regional issue. It is a global economic issue. And that is why the actions being taken right now, both the naval orders and the mine-sweeping operations, have implications that stretch far beyond the Persian Gulf. There's also an important diplomatic dimension to consider. Even as military orders are being issued, negotiations and diplomatic communications continue through various channels. The relationship between maximum pressure and diplomatic engagement is complex. Military readiness and strength can create conditions for negotiation. The idea being that a credible military posture can bring parties to the table. At the same time, escalation always carries risk. Naval incidents in confined waterways can happen quickly, and the consequences of miscalculation, whether intentional or accidental, can spiral in unpredictable ways. That is why the rules of engagement, the clarity of orders, and the professionalism of naval personnel on both sides of these encounters matter enormously. The United States Navy has extensive experience operating in high-tension environments. Its sailors and commanders are trained to respond decisively while maintaining situational awareness and discipline. Those qualities are essential right now. Let me also address the human dimension of all of this, because it's easy to talk about strategy and economics and forget that real people are affected by these events every single day. The sailors and personnel aboard U.S. Navy vessels operating in the Persian Gulf are carrying out some of the most demanding and dangerous duties in the world. They are away from their families, operating in high-stress environments, executing complex missions with precision and professionalism. The crews of commercial vessels, tankers, container ships, bulk carriers, who transit the Strait of Hormuz are also in a difficult position. Many of them are merchant mariners from countries all around the world, simply doing their jobs, moving cargo that the global economy depends on. The safety and security of these crews is a moral obligation as much as a strategic one. So where does all of this leave us? The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most consequential choke points in the world. The threat posed by underwater mines in this waterway is real, serious, and demands a serious response. The United States has committed to defending the freedom of navigation in international waters, not just for American interests, but for the stability of global trade and energy supply chains that benefit people in every corner of the world. Mine-sweeping operations are underway and expanding. Naval forces are on high alert with clear orders. The international community is watching closely. What happens in the next days and weeks in these waters will have consequences that ripple outward, to energy markets, to diplomatic relations, to the daily lives of ordinary people who never think about the Strait of Hormuz, but whose lives are quietly shaped by whether ships can pass through it safely. That's where we are today. Thank you for taking the time to understand this situation more deeply. An informed public is essential, especially on issues this complex